I just think this is today is a great example of the experience that I have heard talked about where autistic or neurodivergent folks will be like this one situation sensory wise is like so intolerable because it's one that like I'm not responsible for or I didn't start or like I didn't expect it or like any number of reasons. And then this other one that someone else might perceive as like just as bad or maybe even worse is totally tolerable. Um, so I don't think you can hear because my last client just told me that she could not. But there's jackhammering happening at my house right now, directly under me in our basement, and it's very loud. Okay. And because of that, yesterday I worked at my friend's house. So it was like beautiful house, like really nice family, like totally had a room to myself, like ideal situation. Apparently, I packed all of the things that I could remember, like half of my desk, all of my 5 drinks, and still I was highly uncomfortable and irritated and like even at one point they had like a house cleaner come and was making like the tiniest of noises and I was like cannot focus, right? So stressful. And then today I'm like I'm just going to be at my house, like I cannot. And I just had a beautiful session, wasn't distracted one bit, felt fantastic, do not feel drained by the jackhammering and hardly noticed it as I was talking because I have all my stuff and I'm in my familiar place and my nervous system is like, I chose to have the jackhammering because I'm really excited. You may have seen over the past 2 years my struggle with keeping our basement dry, which has been like shoveling snow in a blizzard. I have spent hundreds of hours in my basement. Um, vacuuming out water. And I finally win for it and am like taking out financing to get a sump pump put in, and that's why the jackhammering is happening. And so I chose it. I feel so happy about it. And I feel so happy to be in my space. My nervous system's like, yeah, of course it's jackhammering, it's no problem. It's just fascinating. So I think that is really interesting. And also, I think it speaks to sort of the Byron Katie idea that, like, whatever you think and feel about something is what it is. Okay. Let's say I was renting here and my landlord was like, we have to jackhammer. And I felt like I didn't want them to. I bet this jackhammering would be like appalling and unacceptable, and I would not be able to do this, and I'd be like crying probably, right? So the way that we think and feel about something determines how we experience it and how our nervous system experiences it, which is just super fascinating to me. And it's not to downplay that, like, it's not so easy to change how you think and feel, right? That's why Byron Katie calls her stuff the work, because it takes work to shift how you think and feel about something, but it is possible. And it's really, the question 3 and 4 of the work are like, how do you feel and act when you believe the thought, and how do you number 4 is how do you think you would feel and act without believing that thought. And this is just like a perfect example of like I'm having basically no stress this morning about it, and I was so stressed out yesterday. And I also had a breakthrough with like another situation that was bugging me. And it's like the most prominent identified problem in my current reality. And I really have suffered um, over the years about it. And I was doing my DBT homework about it. And I just have to show you this beautiful little face. I just am like taking such joy and comfort with this little face, this moment looking up at me. Um, so I had such a breakthrough doing my DBT homework. I was, writing about the whole situation. I was doing a DBT pros and cons list, which is a little bit different than a regular pros and cons. And I love these little way the light glistens off of the cheeks. Um, and I was writing about the situation, feeling pretty pitiful about myself and how is this my life? And la 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 la. And then my DBT teacher wrote back, and she didn't even say this specifically, but um, she said something, and it kind of woke me up into realizing, like, oh my gosh, if this wasn't happening, okay, two parts. First one was if this other person who I was having the conflict with agreed with me and did everything I wanted, there could still be a scary negative outcome. I don't know that my version of it is the safest, best outcome. Like even if they agreed with me and we did everything the way that I think it should be, there could still be a negative outcome. And that was like, whoa, groundbreaking to me. Like, oh yeah, because a great example is this house. What I wanted was to get this house. And I thought that was going to be the best possible outcome. And then I got it. I was like so visualizing and asking everybody to send me their good energy and please kind of, wrote the owner a letter. I really want this house. It would make such a difference in my life. Then I got it and it's been a shit show. Right. So just because we don't get what we want is not a great reason to think that like everything's wrong and never is going to be okay. Because you could get what you want and it could just go really bad. So I want to remember that. Like, you think you know what will turn out great and for the best or whatever, but not necessarily. And you could not get it, and then it's like, oh no, it's terrible. And then it looks bad. And then in 20 years, it could turn out that it was like way better. There's a concept that I learned from Quasi Joe here and it's called the path of least resistance, and it's that we're in a interconnected like web of the entire universe, and that like let's say me winning $1 million was there was like the repercussions of me winning $1 million would be that somebody else got in a car accident and died, which would mean that their like kid would grow up in the foster system, let's say. So to me, when I don't win that $1 million, I'm like, it would have been so great if I won the $1 million. And I will never ever know that if I had won that $1 million, it would have meant that this person got in a car accident and that this person ended up in foster care, right? And I may die not knowing that. And so the concept is to be like, yeah, it's called the advantage method. Like, yeah, that was the absolute best outcome. It had to have been, or else it wouldn't have happened. That's the idea. And you could say, like, that's delusional. Like, how would you ever know? And I would offer it's also delusional to say the best outcome would have been to get the $1 million because we don't know. Like, I could have got the $1 million and then, um, I don't know, lots of people who win $1 million, like, their life goes sideways and they end up having a lot of heartache. So, like, it's delusional either way. Okay, here's the truth. Anything you think or feel about the future is delusion. If you feel hopeful about the future, delusional. If you feel catastrophic about the future, delusional. No proof that either of those things will happen, right? Because there are humans who get divorced and it's the best thing that happened in their life. There are humans who get divorced and it's catastrophic. There are humans whose children live long, healthy, beautiful, successful lives, and it's so meaningful for them. There are people whose children um, are live super successful, happy lives, and they still feel lost and alone in the world, and vice versa. People whose children die and they feel like lost and alone forever, and then people whose children die and they like do something meaningful with it and they like start an organization like Suzanne Giesemann. She was in the military and like living this very 3D life. And then her stepdaughter died, and she was so heartbroken that she's connected with a group of like mediums who work with people who've lost their children and started meditating every day, wanting to connect with her daughter. Finally did, and now is one of like the biggest teachers on mediumship and connecting with people who've passed. So we just literally don't know. And I just, no, I don't think that you should choose the hopeful path, but I think you shouldn't not choose the hopeful path just because it might be delusional, because it is delusional also to choose the pessimist path. But anything about the future is something you do not know. So it's all made up. Okay, just want to offer it. I think I'm fairly like revved up because of the jackhammering, but I'm using it for excitement and I'm having fun. And do you love this rainbow stripe shirt? Because I love this rainbow stripe shirt, and I just am so happy that it was at the top of the pile today because it's making me very joyful to see these stripes. It feels like Care Bear, Rainbow Bright, like Punky Brewster. I used to wear these when we got to go to camp, summer camp, we would get these little matching camp outfits. And they were cotton t-shirts with cotton shorts that were like matchy matchy. So it was like, hot pink shorts with um like a pink stripy shirt, or floral shirt with the matching shorts, like and they were little just cotton, like a t-shirt and a drawstring shorts. And I was dressed quite formally the rest of the time in my childhood with like handmade, like fancy, what people would consider like a church dress, um and like fancy shoes every other day of my life, to school and to church and to everywhere. um and so when I got to wear these camp outfits, they were like so comfy, drawstring lace, um, light cotton. I felt like a little bit more permission to get them dirty, not really. But I could play because I had shorts on, and I just loved those little camp outfits. And I think that is what my current style is like those little camp outfits. Okay, lots of energy. All right, love you.